So clean energy for all. I promise this is the only thing I'm going to read for you. Idaho must transition to 100% clean energy by or before 2050, not only in the electricity sector, but in transportation, heating, and cooling, in order to protect our communities, environment, and economy from the impacts of climate change. Conservation Voters for Idaho is working to achieve net zero emissions in an equitable way that benefits all Idaho communities. As clean energy costs fall and public approval increases, the greatest block to widespread implementation of clean energy is no longer technological or economic, but institutional and political. So I think it's really important, especially that final sentence, that we've seen that upwards of like 60 to 70% of Idahoans support transitioning to clean energy. And that's true across the political spectrum, so Democrats, independents, and Republicans, and across the age ranges and for both men and women. So it's widely supported here in Idaho, and it makes sense economically, which is why a lot of cities and businesses have lately been making those commitments and making that transition. It's because it's not just something that benefits our environment, but it's something that's economically beneficial.
Yeah, we work with other agencies, we work with private landowners, we work with nonprofits, and it really demonstrates to me that it really takes all of us working together to protect these lands and to steward them, and to make sure that we're not losing all of our water, or to Russian olives drinking all the water for the other trees, or that our wildlife has a good place to live, and that folks have that recreation space that they've absolutely need, right? Especially, like we saw last year when folks needed it for their mental and spiritual and physical health. They needed to be able to go outside and enjoy open space. And it does, this discussion just drives home the point that it doesn't happen without a lot of collaboration.
So what the fellowship program like I said, aims to do is develop leaders to serve on public boards. Now, there's a myriad of other boards that are conservation minded that are nonprofits, just like CVIs. However, this program is really targeting public service. The three groups of people we are trying to educate are women, people of color, and people who identify as LGBTQ, or the intersection of any of those identities. We want them to develop confidence in their leadership skills, which includes education, as well as pairing them with a mentor who's a leader in the community who shares the identities that they have. And we also are teaching everyone about conservation policy. So to apply for the fellowship, the fellows do not have to be experts in environmental or conservation issues. Those are things that we teach them along the way with the intent that they will adopt a pro-conservation mindset once they start serving on a public board and commission. So how does the boards and commissions program fit into CVI's strategic plan? So this is just a very small portion of CVI's strategic plan. And one of the things that I really liked about it is the guiding principles of our differences make us stronger, which I wholeheartedly believe. And I also believe that the more voices we have at the table, the better. And we bring everyone with us, understanding that environmental impacts, negative environmental impacts people of color the most out of all the demographics of people, including people living in poverty. So as we're looking forward on how we can engage folks, we need all voices at the table. And that's exactly what this program aims to do.
For the folks who are still with us and listening, I just really want to say that I've had the privilege and pleasure to work with each one of you. And what we've been able to accomplish in the last few years as far as the voting rights program is that we have seen an increase of folks voting, but that's because JJ, I used the data from the Idaho Commission on Hispanic Affairs.
That's okay, because since I met Antonio, I put him to work almost from that day. I'm like, this community needs this, so I've been putting him to work.
The ACLU of Idaho and these lovely ladies, we collaborated on materials before and translation and getting that out to our community members. Rebecca with the Latino card, we were able to speak on the census, and all this incredible work has moved the needle, even if it is when we look at the data, it's 5%, it's 15% when it's municipal elections. But just that investment we've seen folks start to get way more interested in voting. Like the conversations that we've been having with people have been really incredible. And that's partially why I wanted to invite all of you here, because I think for a lot of people, when we go out and explain our work, it becomes a little bit hard because we're not a monolith and there's so many different perspectives and there's so much still that we have to invest in to really get a clear picture of how we can create a democracy that actually works for everybody here in Idaho. When we have so many folks who are choosing not to vote or aren't informed on when an election is happening. We spoke a lot about translations, a lot about building trust, and each of these components, I think, fits in this sort of design of how we can actually create something that feels welcoming for folks. It's not just translate these election materials. It's not just make ballots in Spanish. It's a really comprehensive and long-term approach to building that. And so I just wanted to share that in case folks had questions on, our connection as CVI to all of these panelists here.
As you can tell, we've done things a bit differently this year and wanted to remind you that we have worked to ensure that throughout the week you got to learn a little bit more about the work that we're doing here at CVI, our recent accomplishments, and some of our incredible community partners who help make this work possible. I'd also like to thank you all for your support this week as well, from donating to our organization. We're able to do this work and so much more with your continued support. If you haven't already, please consider making a gift to support Conservation Voters for Idaho. Now, thank you again for believing in us and the work that we do to create a better Idaho for all.